all, welcome. Cynthia from NB Pretty Papers here. Today I'm up on the Crafty Maven Getaway with an art party Friday layout. So I'll do a journal page, art journal page. You would have saw at the beginning the inspiration piece, which had a lot of browns and time travel elements to it. And that's what I'm going to use as the inspiration. So this is a vintagey brown page. I've pulled out a old, here it is here. It's a clock that I cut out of a magazine or a newspaper. And I've had it in my stash for quite some time, knowing that one day I would try to use it. And today is that day. So the timeline's been quite good with this one actually. I recently received, this month, I received my scrapbooking kit, which was featured heavily the Craft Factory 42 line, which had a lot of cogs and timepieces and brown distressed bits and pieces. So and I used those up, I made 4 scrapbook pages with them, which was really outside my comfort zone. I just generally don't use these colours. Used it, as I said, made about 4 pages. I had a few bits and pieces left over, which I just put in my stash, and then I just happened to be on the Crafty Maven Getaway, checking out the inspiration pieces for the weeks, and I noticed that this week's was the brown and the same tones and the textures, and I thought, oh, I might jump on and make a page using up those few last bits and pieces. So that's what I'm doing. So I've pulled out the distressed oxide inks in. This one's fossilized amber, and the 2 browns are walnut stain and vintage photo. I think that's the name of it. And I'm just going to blend these into the background. Just missed it some water on there, which has made the ink go the oxide look, and then I've dried it up, and now I'm going to go back in with the same colours over top of that area. It won't cover it up totally, it'll just push it to the background and give it a little bit more of texture and depth to the background. So I'm just going to come back in here with all 3 colours. So I decided that I wanted some big blobs, and there at the last minute I sort of flicked the brush sideways a little bit, and I've got that long streak up the top, which I don't mind. I'm happy to go with the flow there, because by the time the end comes you really can't see it anyway. So because I come back in here again and put another layer of distress oxide on, but now I've also pulled out this bluey grey, which is called something ice. Can't quite remember the name of it. Hopefully you can read it there on the lid. What you didn't see me do off camera, because it ran out of memory again, as I always do, is that I decided that I would layer a layer of gel matte medium on the background, so then when I come in later to use my Pitt pen markers to do some shading, they would rub and blend in nicely. But as I did that, it made the background go streaky with the brush marks. And once again, I don't mind that. It wasn't my intention, but it's what happened, so I'll go with it, and I quite like that look in the end. Gone through the stash and pulled out these stamps here. I'm thinking that I might use that bottom stamp on the background, but in the end I don't use that one. You can see at the top here I have this little Craft stencil, and decided that I will use that as a bit of variety in the background, using the Distress Oxide inks again just through the stencil as well. So you saw me there, I actually put some markings on top of that clock. I go back in with a wet wipe soon and wipe that off. I decided that I would prefer it just in the background and not on the actual clock itself. Put out the gelatos, and I'm going to go around the edge of the page with the gelato. So this is just the gold, and then I come back in with the brown as well and go around the edge there. I've done that. You didn't see me do that on camera. So now pulling out some modelling paste and grabbing the gelatos out again. We'll trim off a little bit of those two colours and mix it into the modelling paste to make a caramel colour, I guess you would call it. So blending that in. We'll grab out a stencil, you'll see that here in a moment, and we'll run that through the stencil. Here it is here. So it's just some cogs, which I think will go well with the theme of today's page. So just spread those around the page in half a dozen different places. Thought I'd try to use it as a stamper up there, but didn't like the way that looks, so I just quickly wiped that off with a palette knife. That come off nice and easy. Was initially just going to do half of that there, but decided that that didn't look good, so I've carried it across the page. And I think I'll come back in and do, no, that's probably all I do. Looking at my page here, that might be all I do. I head off and clean all that up. There we go, it's all cleaned up. Coming back in with that fossilized amber again, just highlighting that background, really trying to make that background look like it's backlit nearly, if that's the look that I'm trying to go for. It's nice and bright, and absolutely love that colour. It's a gorgeous yellowy gold. Did try to dry the modelling paste off with a heat gun, but that was taking too long, so I've left that side for a bit and have gone through my stash and pulled out those bits and pieces that I was talking about earlier, some of the cogs and some word elements, and now I'm going to spread those around the page to see what I can make work. And I think I like that look, so I grab out the matte medium gel and we'll put all those down. I've got to be a little bit careful that I don't smudge the Distress Oxide ink underneath, but I want to make sure there's enough on it and around it, because I do know that I want to come back in, as I said earlier, and use my pit markers to add some shading. So this piece here says, "We all have our time machines, don't we?" Those that take us back are memories, and those that take us forward are dreams. H.G. Wells. And on the clock you can see that I have another little clock, and inside that clock it just says, you can't put back the clock, but you can wind it up again. So it's all just talking about time and travel in a sense. And if I'm about to do that now, you'll see here that with this piece I decide that I will mount it up on some foam just to give it a little bit of height from the page, get some shadow happening underneath that piece, and covering it again with the gel. So really liking the way that looks, and there we go, come in with that fossilized amber again, just highlighting that middle section, going around the edge of the page with some brown ink. I use a couple of different browns. In the end I go to my acrylic paints and I pull out a gold shimmer paint and I paint that around the edge as well to sort of highlight the edge. And then once the camera is turned off, I actually grab out some Mr. Huey's sprays. Can't think of what the name of it was at the moment, but it was a brown spray, and I've just used the nozzle to run around the edge of the page as well, just to give it that real dark edge, and you can see that in the close-up in the photos at the end. So here I'm coming in with my marker, and you can see where I'm doing those triangles there, just adding that shading really makes it pop up off the page, gives it good depth, good dimension. So I go around all the elements over the clock, pretty much right across the page, and just sort of add some shading and some depth to the page now. So I'm just using my grey pen here just to go over some of the lines that were in the clock, just to help make them stand out a little bit as well. And then I continue on doing some more shading. I want to add some of that fossilized amber across the clock, so you saw me just go to a blank page and get rid of most of it off my sponge, so it wasn't going to be quite as bright on the clock. I just want to give it just a slight hint. Here's where I've pulled out the gold paint and just going to go around the edge, highlighting some bits and pieces as I'm going around as well. And I like that look. It gives it a nice shine. And then I pull out the baby wipes and I'm just going to go across the two lots of wording. And that pretty much comes to the end of the page. I hope you enjoyed this layout. Please stay and have a look at the close-ups at the end to see some final little details. If you did enjoy the page, please give me a thumbs up. Jump on over to the Crafty Maven Getaway channel and subscribe to them to watch more of the inspiration that the girls put up. And feel free to jump over to my page and subscribe as well, and be pretty papers. I'd love it if you leave me a comment. I love reading all the comments and answering them. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Talk to you then. Bye.